Evening, folks. Eric from Another Voice with Jason and Eric, sponsored by Greenville's Neighborhood Pharmacy, Fowler Pharmacy, 1908 Lawrence Road. You can hear us Mondays 1 to 2 p.m. on Spin FM 103.3, or go on the web to canIgetawordin.com, find our podcast there, or even subscribe to our podcast channel on iTunes, Another Voice with Jason and Eric. So the presidential debate numero uno is done. We're one down, two to go, plus the sidekicks. The vice presidential debates. We're going to talk about the presidential debate today. We're not going to get into a lot of details. We're going to talk about it on Monday, but there's a couple things I want to talk about. First of all, there were two guys standing up on the platform. Of course, that's obvious. But there are more than two people running for president. We have a system that's broken it down to two parties, so it's just Republican and Democrat. But there's also the Green Party, the Constitutional Party, and the Libertarian Party. Fine examples of candidates who could be president. We need to stop having it just two parties. I think the presidential debate should include all five candidates from each of the parties. Now, I don't want everybody who says I want to run for president. I mean, you or I could say we're going to run for president, but a legitimate party that has a nominating process, it has, either petition to get on the ballot or are normally on the ballot, like here in South Carolina, they should be on that stage. It might even be more interesting if we had more points of view than just slight changes of points of view on two different candidates. The debate. The big question is, who won the debate? Well, if you listen to the internet, there's a segment of the internet that said Romney hit a home run. And there's a segment that said Obama hit a home run. And then there's the rest of us who actually watched the debate. My opinion, and I admit it's my opinion, Romney edged out the president by a small margin, as long as you weren't checking the facts. The president's energy seemed low, and I think, my opinion, that the strategy that his campaign said was, let's be presidential, let's not get to gutter ball, let's not get down and dirty and fighting with the candidate. Romney's strategy seemed to be, I have a narrative, I'm going to tell it over and over and over again, and he seemed energized and excited. And it worked, as long as you don't check all the facts. So I would say, and because the expectations for Romney were low, even after you check the facts, I think Romney won by a hair. I think you'll see a different performance in 2 weeks when they debate again. But if you go and check the facts, both President Obama and Governor Romney, they weren't quite solid on the facts on a few issues. But more of the haymakers that Romney threw have less power when you look at the facts behind them. They were less than accurate. And a couple of the ones that President Obama threw were. But Romney's win gets smaller when you start checking the facts. One big story from the debate was Jim Lehrer's performance as the moderator. I think Jim Lehrer set himself up. The beginning of the debate, he kind of set himself up as he was the man. His questions, here's how we're going to do it. But a respected journalist like that should know that when politicians start talking, you're not going to have a chance to stop them unless you do something dramatic. I'll give him credit. There were one or two times where he was able to really actually stop one of those men from talking and move him on to a different subject. Unfortunately, one of those times was when Romney made a major attack against the president about green jobs, and the president didn't get a chance to answer it. But Jim Lehrer's performance, I think he set himself up to fail. But honestly, how are you going to stop that? I had suggestions from the internet and from friends on what should happen in the next debate. A very popular one is that the next moderator should be Chuck Norris. I don't know about that. A good friend of mine said that there should be two guys stationed on the stage in front of the candidates. so that when that 2-minute mark comes, they get a message in their ear, and they got super soakers full of water. And they, as soon as that 2-minute comes, a squirt in the face of the candidate who's talking. Now, they're going to be startled, and that gives the other candidate time to start talking. I'm not sure that's the best way. Someone talked about electrifying buzzers that the candidates hold so they get shocked. And that was from a mild shock to they get knocked on the floor. Honestly, it's hard to be able to force someone to stop talking at a specific time when they're involved in that. Now, the candidate should use some self-control. There are signs and colored lights that say, hello, you should stop now. Moderators in presidential debates are just there for window dressing, I think. On Monday's show, we're going to talk about some of the fact checks. We're going to look at what each candidate said and give out some of the facts. But overall, I think the first debate went well. I had someone ask me, why do we have presidential debates? Shouldn't people already know all the things about these candidates at this point? Yes, but we're Americans. We don't pay attention. A lot of people tune into the debate because they've heard snippets and they just, I'm too busy. This way they can sit down and hear the details. The question I have is, why do we have a vice presidential debate? That seems like a waste of time because both those men are going to be telling what their boss's idea is, what their boss's position is. Well, let their bosses say it and get done with them. I know that if the president were to die, the vice president would take office, but they're not going to tell their point of view. They're going to tell the president's point of view. But we'll listen, we'll remark it. So that's all for tonight. Make sure you mark on your calendar October 22nd from 6 to 8 p.m. We're having the 2012 Vote Informed Candidate Forum in the University Center at McAllister Square in Greenville, South Carolina. 6 to 8 p.m. You can hear candidates from across the board that are on the Greenville County ballot. We've invited every one of them, and we should have a good number of them there. You'll also be able to check where your polling place is and what districts you're in so that you know exactly who you're voting for. That's October 22nd at 6 to 8 p.m. All right, until Monday, have a great weekend.